everybody, I'm Dr. Todd and welcome to the Miller Method. Today we are going to be talking about activity monitors and calorie tracking apps. And the reason we do this is because weight loss, above all else, weight loss is simply a math problem. And if you want to solve a complicated math problem, you use a calculator. You wouldn't go into physics class without a calculator, so we aren't going to approach weight loss without a calculator. Now, historically, this has always been very difficult to try and figure out how many calories do I burn in a day, how many calories do I eat in a day. This has become much, much easier with the advent of calorie tracking applications and activity monitors. And when I talk about an activity monitor, what I'm talking about is something like a Fitbit. And I wear a Fitbit, and what a Fitbit is essentially an accelerometer. And you may be familiar with pedometers. A pedometer is simply a device that measures oscillations, movements in one direction. So as I walk, the pedometer moves up and down and tracks those movements and tries to convert those into calorie burn in some way. What makes the Fitbit different is that the Fitbit measures acceleration, and it measures acceleration in 3 directions. So instead of just measuring up and down movements, it measures movements in 3 different directions as well as the intensity of those movements. So with a pedometer, if you walk a mile or run a mile, the pedometer doesn't know the difference. All it knows is that you went a mile. And clearly your caloric burn is going to be higher depending on the intensity of the activity. So that's what makes the Fitbit different. The Fitbit also counts your steps, and the goal, according to the CDC, is to get 10,000 steps per day to improve your health and keep your weight managed and that kind of thing. So what the Fitbit does is it has a series of lights on it, and there's 5 lights, and one light represents 2,000 steps. So you can tap the Fitbit like this, and it will light up and tell you how many steps you've gotten and how many you need to get to your 10,000. So that is the function of the Fitbit. So essentially what the Fitbit does then is it syncs via Bluetooth to your phone and also to your computer, and it has an application which allows you to, at any time, look at your phone and make a determination as to how many calories you've burned during that day up to that point. Now, what the Fitbit is not capable of doing is measuring activity during everything. So if I'm riding a bike, for example, if I'm sitting on a stationary bike and the accelerometer isn't moving, it obviously doesn't know what I'm doing. So I can go to my app after that activity is over, and I can enter, okay, I sat for an hour on a bike at this intensity, and the Fitbit will calculate that into my calorie burn. So there's a database of activities in the Fitbit. There's also a database of food that you can log into the Fitbit as well. I'm not crazy about the food tracking capabilities of the Fitbit application. It is improving. It's gotten much better. But I think as of yet, there are some other food calorie tracking apps that are easier to use and have a more extensive database. One of those is Fat Secret. Fat Secret is the app that I use to track calories. You can go to fatsecret.com and you can set up an account. And the reason we want to track calories, again, is very simple. Weight loss is a math problem. Any diet or any eating strategy that has ever worked, and when I say worked, meaning has resulted in you losing weight, and preferably fat weight, any diet that has ever worked has to create a caloric deficit. It doesn't matter whether it's Atkins, Zone, South Beach, high fat, low fat, high carb, high protein, whatever. Any eating strategy that has ever worked for you works because you burn more calories than you eat. So if we have a way to accurately track how many calories we're eating and how many calories we're burning, then weight loss becomes much, much easier of a problem to solve. How do we use these things together? So at the end of every day, we simply look at our Fitbit application and see how many calories did I burn. At the end of the day, we look at our Fat Secret application and say, okay, how many calories did I eat? And if those numbers are the same for that day, our weight has not changed. We can then look at these things over the course of time. We can look at these things over the course of a week or a month or 3 months or 6 months, and the goal is to look at those numbers and make sure that over the course of any given time on a consistent, regular basis, our caloric burn is greater than our caloric consumption. People try and make this a lot more complicated than it really is. And again, historically, it has been very complicated. calorie tracking has been very difficult because there was no way to do this on the fly. We would wait till the end of the day and we would ask somebody, what did you eat today? And that person would try and remember and write down everything that they ate that day. Extremely inaccurate way of trying to calculate calorie consumption. But now, with something like Fat Secret, we can sit there while we're eating, punch it into our phone what we're eating, find that in the database, add it to the database. If it's not in the database, we can add it. We can create custom foods. If we are eating a processed food or a packaged food, it has a barcode scanning application. We can just scan the barcode. It will pull that food up in the database and we can add it for any meal we want. So it makes dietary tracking very, very easy and very, very accurate. So next time what we'll show is how we use, specifically in our lab, how we use the Fitbit and Fat Secret to design a specifically tailored program that has very, very specific goals for an individual person. How much fat do I want to lose? How much muscle mass do I have? How much protein should I be eating? When is a reasonable date by which I can lose this amount of fat? Those kinds of things. And those extensive analytics can be done with these measurement tools that are now very readily available to the general public. Thanks.
Got it,